And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Monday, March 20th. I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by PrizePicks. 6-game NBA slate on the docket for today. We don't have a true late game. The latest game we have is 9 p.m., so that's kind of fun. Should be a good schedule. I like this slate. I'm excited to break it down. I hope you guys are excited to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Adam, how are you? How was your weekend?
I'm good. Weekend was fine. Always enjoyable during March Madness and everything. But most important thing, for the first time ever since I've been on a show with you, congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Feels good. It was certainly a scary one heading into the main event. It was not at all a fun sweat, that much I'll say, considering you don't want to be going into the main event knowing that you need the underdog.
Right.
Particularly in a fight that I didn't think the underdog was going to win.
Especially when, I was thinking about it, like going into that fight too, like you wanted nothing more probably than Leon Edwards to lose from just your disdain of Leon Edwards standpoint.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to win. I thought Usman was just better heading into it. I mean, if you're asking me, I didn't think he won the fight to begin with. Yeah. I thought it was 47-47. So to me, that fight was a draw either way. What the only good thing was when they read the scorecards, I assumed I won. I didn't think that it was a clean sweep for Usman. Like, I thought it was more likely that those cards were going to Edwards, and they did. So once I heard the first two get read off, I felt pretty confident.
What were the first? I didn't watch the fight.
It was 48-46, 48-46, and then the draw card 47-47. So when I heard them, I was just like, okay, I don't really see the path for that to be two Usman wins. So right. I'm feeling pretty good.
The caveat being, and I didn't watch most of that card once my highest owned guy tore his knee. But based on Twitter, it seemed like in pretty much every decision, there was at least one judge that was just completely like off the board. So
yeah, it was stressful, man, because it's one of those situations where there's no middle ground. There's no like, oh, well, if he doesn't win, you still get a little bit. No. Like, I lose money if Edwards doesn't win that fight. The gap was huge. I got a a DM from Britt, like, you're absolutely crazy for not hedging some of this. And I was just like, eh.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like I was so happy when we finally got sports betting in Maryland, because I told you, like, this, I was incredibly stupid and lazy before Maryland had sports betting, not to go to like Pennsylvania for the Tournament of Champions tiebreaker, which like that gave me like a perfect hedging opportunity. I just couldn't do it because I was in Maryland, but like I needed the two favorites in the last two fights, so I at least could get like plus money on the underdogs. It kind of sucked for you because like you have to lay odds on Usman in that case, but still, like 80. You basically just had 80K on Leon Edwards.
Yeah, and like the same situation from a couple of weeks ago when I needed the main event to go, when I needed Jessica Andrade, a smaller payout because there were more dupes, but still. Red Skittles with the super chat. Congrats. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yeah, like, I mean, at that point, I basically have to just send out a Twitter message like, hey, who wants to take, 20K of something like this here? Yeah, there's a very small amount of people that are going to be getting back to me.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the Tournament of Champions ones for me. Once I realized going into that second to last fight that it was setting up perfectly, I texted a friend in Virginia. Was like, yo, I might need you to get down like 10 to 15K on the main event, and if the co-main goes my way. And he's like, okay, cool. And then about the time I sent that, whoever I had just starts getting pummeled. And I'm like, hey, it doesn't matter, man.
Yeah. There wouldn't have been a lot of people that were like clamoring to get that. I probably would, I got to hit up like Alex, like, hey, do you have like a lean on this? Or, probably a couple other people that could pop up on Twitter, but not a lot of people are looking for that kind of specific action in that fight.
Yeah. I mean, the best way to do it is the way I did it a while ago on Twitter. You send out a message, have someone completely misread it, take the side that they don't want, and then have to awkwardly tell them as they are celebrating in your DMs that they owe you like $15,000.
Yeah. I was saying, like, I'm leaving for Vegas on Wednesday. If I would have been in Vegas on Saturday, then it would have been easy. I would have been like, hey, Sportsbook, like, what do I need to do? How much will you guys let me get down? Like, do I wire this? How does this work? Because I have it. I just, I don't think that I could just take out 500 at the ATM over and over again until I hit 20 grand. It was fun, man. It was fun. Needed that one. felt good finally to get one. And I like getting it in MMA too. Like that, it is unequivocally my favorite thing to do now each Saturday. And I think I'm pretty good at it in general. So
yes, I know fun sweats too. So it's cool to see.
Yeah. Like, I mean, basically since we went to your live final, like in and around that time is where I've started like legit paying attention to MMA in like I want to get better at MMA DFS standpoint. And that has happened for sure.
Yeah.
So it's fun. We got basketball though today. Yesterday wasn't fun.
I want to get better at that.
So do I. It would be really cool if I got better at basketball in that same way in the next couple of weeks prior to the end of this season, because while I like baseball, those prize pools aren't the same. And that's a grind. That's coming soon. We got a lot of basketball yet to talk about. I mean, even through the first round of the playoffs, like we've got all of April before we start to get like
the only good trade-off going from NBA to MLB is that it is so much less work.
Oh God, the amount of time that it just gets saved. Not even pay, like you don't care what happens during the day. If somebody gets ruled out at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's meaningless. I don't have to find out anything until I sit down at 6 basically.
Right. I don't have to sit there for 3 hours going through and saying like, oh, is this guy going to hit 3 times or 4 times or 5 times?
Yeah, it's the ease of the baseball season is always like I appreciate it when it gets here.
Yeah, it feels like you go from like basically having 2 jobs to 1 job.
Yeah. It really is like a summer vacation.
Yeah.
And then I'm barely paying attention to the NFL next year. I've already put this in my head. I enjoy it so little that
I hate it, but it's my best sport.
I can't. I'm fully getting away from it this year. I'll play
and there's so much money to be made. Like I will never.
I'll play a single entry lineup, and that's going to be basically the extent of it. Like I want to not pay attention to it ever again.
Unless
I'm going to do my best to not do the content.
What'd you say?
I said I want to do my best to not do the content.
Yeah, I mean I've always done that, but unless I'm broken homeless, I will be playing NFL.
Well, 6 months to work on it. All right, let's break this bad boy down. 6 games to go. Plenty of time to do so. Nothing hitting us on the back end. So we've got plenty of time to break everything down. There's a lot to talk about. The Indiana Pacers are 1.5 point favorites in Charlotte, 232 total. A lot of question marks here for the Pacers, and I think that they matter a lot. We don't have Tyrese Halliburton, but Q-tag on Mathurin, Q-tag on Duarte, Q-tag on Isaiah Jackson. We've got basically 15% ownership coming into Hield, Turner, McConnell, and to Mathurin. When you look at Indiana right now, assuming all of those guys are in to start, do you have anybody that stands out to you?
No, I think it's kind of more a team where there are several good plays, and that's what the ownership's reflecting as well. You have McConnell up to 6,100. Assuming he's still coming off the bench, you're getting like 26 to 30 minutes. So he's certainly playable. We know he's a very good point per minute guy without Tyrese Halliburton, and he's getting more minutes. But at 6,100, there is still some risk there. Miles Turner, the price tag came down to 7,300, which is nice. You're typically getting 28 to 30 minutes from him. So there's some upside. Hield looks fine. If Mathurin's in at 4,900 and playing normal minutes, I don't have any issue with that. If he's limited, obviously that changes. But I don't think there's any one guy that stands out as great, but there are several guys you can get to. And then obviously some of that opens up, or more will open up if Mathurin's out, if Duarte's out.
Mathurin in particular at 4,900, if he is in, given that eligibility, to me, he's the best option you can get to from the Pacers. I only gave him 26 minutes. Like his minutes are probably a little weird too. Could get upwards of 30 depending on how that breaks. So that is the most interesting piece for me. Does Isaiah Jackson matter to you? It seems like they kind of yanked him back out of the rotation again.
No, it doesn't matter. Other than if he's out, you can more confidently give the backup center minutes to Jalen Smith. If he's in, you're still
nervous.
Yeah, you're still doing the thing where, I mean, right now, I guess it doesn't matter too much because Jalen Smith's been priced up. So it really doesn't matter at all since Smith's 4,600. But in general, Jackson being out would be well, at least I can just give Jalen Smith the backup center minutes instead of being oh, well, he's 85% to play 18 minutes and 15% to play 0.
How many minutes are you willing to give to McConnell here coming off the bench, assuming he's coming off the bench again?
28.
Okay. Yeah, we're on the same page there.
I mean, we got 26.5 last game. We got, I think, 30 the game before that. He's averaged around 27. So, I think 27, 28.
All right. Yeah, there's not a ton to really talk about for Indiana. Good, not great place. Could look a little bit better depending on how those Q tags break. Got to hit on Jorge's super chat. He said, "Can the MLB season start ASAP?" Chat, join Stokastic. Data is extremely accurate and helpful, especially on baseball. Join now. I mean, I agree with everything other than I don't want the MLB season to start ASAP.
No, I mean, MLB season starting is like my favorite time of the year just because it coincides with better weather and like obviously I love baseball too. But yeah, so like I'm looking forward to that for sure. Have you been watching? I sure you have you been watching the WBC?
No,
it's been great, but
no.
I didn't watch the early games, but like and I only saw part of the win 2 nights ago, but watched last night. Like it's been fun.
Crispy, thank you. Yeah, I haven't watched a single second of it. I don't know who's playing well. I don't know anything that's going on.
Trey Turner is just running shit.
Like, I don't even know what team Trey Turner's on. Obviously,
he would be on the United States.
No. But like, I don't know what his real baseball.
He's on the Phillies.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah, that's my big. I don't know anything.
The greatest part, like, so Team USA, basically, like every American pitcher that's good was just like, yeah, we're not doing this. But they got like hitters. So they pointed it out on the broadcast last night. Team USA's number 9 hitter is getting paid $300 million to play baseball.
That's outstanding. No surprise that the pitcher said no. Like I think I would too.
Yeah, I mean it's tough because like you're still doing spring training. They're limiting them hard in the WBC. Like there's specific rules. Like you can't throw more than 65 pitches. You can't throw like if you throw more than X innings in a game, you can't pitch for like 4 days. Like they're treating it like spring training.
I think what I think the real problem is here is that no kids grow up thinking, man, I really just want to represent the United States in the WBC.
So that's the thing. Like there's a really big difference between how players from other countries feel about this and how US players feel. Like Sandy Alcantara was pitching for the Dominican. Like the dude won the Cy Young and he's pitching in Sandy Alcantara was pitching in this. Like you have legit pitchers on other teams because so like you have US fans being like, this is stupid, it's an exhibition, blah, blah, blah. Like if you were from the Dominican Republic and you spent your whole time playing in the United States, I'm sure I would want nothing more than to represent the Dominican Republic. Whereas for the US, it's like you're kind of representing the US every time you play in the majors too.
Yeah. And you do, like it's not like the Olympic team for the NBA where like you dream about going and getting a gold medal. Like it's the WBC. It just doesn't have that same sort of like appeal generally. I'm not saying that it's nothing or anything, but like
US guys,
you never think about it as a kid.
Right. Which like it's been interesting too. Cause like, I don't know if you saw like Edwin Diaz got hurt. He's out for the year. He tore his knee celebrating a win. Jose Altuve now is out for 8 to 10 weeks because he broke his thumb getting hit by a pitch. But the US guys, so like there's been the narrative of basically like, these guys shouldn't play in the WBC, like they're risking their MLB season. So like you've actually had the US guys now starting to speak out, like Mike Trout being like, this is the most fun I've ever had playing baseball. Like he's like, the next time this comes up, like American guys should play. There's no reason not to. Like they've been pretty vocal about how like this is the best time they've had playing and they should actually play next time.
Fun. WS hit us with the member message after being here for 12 months. Good to see. Said NBA Bet Pro, killing it. Love you guys. Y'all rock. Glad you're enjoying Bet Pro. Make sure you're watching Adam's Bet Pro video Monday through Friday.
Yeah. Somebody said Ohtani pitched a couple of times. Japan plays Mexico tonight in the semifinals. If Japan wins, they face the US in the championship. The US is going to have like, I don't know who pitching, like Nick Martinez or Brady Singer or something. Japan's going to be starting Yu Darvish and closing with Shohei Ohtani.
Always fun. Gotta love that. Almost as fun as rostering the Charlotte Hornets today as slight dogs at home. This spot looks incredible, and the ownership is here already, so we will talk about that. But for the Hornets, still no Mark Williams. Otherwise, we've got 30% ownership to Oubre, 25 to Rozier, 30 to PJ Washington, another 20 to Hayward, 30 to DSJ, and another 15 to Nick Richards. Start wherever you want here because everybody's pulling this ownership.
Yeah, everybody just looks good. You're getting big playing time from the main pieces of this team. It's another team that, one nice thing, and I'm going to regret saying this, I'm sure, in the next couple of weeks, but one nice thing so far this NBA season is even the bad teams are actually just playing down the stretch. And you're getting, obviously it didn't last game because they just got destroyed by Philly, but in general, you're getting big minutes from these Charlotte guys, even though they suck and are playing for nothing. As long as the game's competitive, and it probably should be, neither of these teams are very good. As long as the game's competitive, only 1.5 point spread, you're getting like 36 minutes, 36, 37 minutes from Oubre, from Rozier, PJ Washington playing anywhere from like 32 to 36, depending on how quickly he gets into foul trouble. Dennis Smith Jr., mid to upper 20s off the bench. Nick Richards, if he avoids foul trouble, is giving you 28 to 30. Gordon Hayward is playing like 34. So there's just a lot to like from this team, even though it is a very bad team.
Who do you think is the best option here? Because it is PJ Washington pulling the most ownership, but you can make a case for basically anybody here.
Yeah, I think they all kind of look similar relative to price and salary.
Yeah.
Oubre and Rozier are the ones that I would feel the best about, just because they are the highest usage guys and likely to give you the most minutes.
Yeah. I mean, to me, given ownership, Nick Richards is the guy that I want the most in a GPP. 15% owned right now, 5,100. I think people are probably not too happy about 13 minutes and 23 minutes in his last two, but the goal for Nick Richards today is 28 plus and upwards of 32 if this breaks correctly. If he's playing 32 minutes at 5,100, he's, on paper, probably the best player of the slate heading into lock. I got him in for 28 minutes. He's the one grading out the best for me.
Yeah, I think that's fine. You got 23 from him last game or 2 games ago. He didn't close or play down the stretch against Cleveland. That kind of concerned me. You had a line.
It was over though.
What?
The game was over.
Well, no, I mean when they were playing their actual players, like they went Oubre, Rozier, Washington, Hayward, Dennis Smith Jr.
Yeah,
before they called it off.
Does get a little scary there. I agree. Do they have any fouls? 2, 3. So no.
Yeah, and I mean last game he had 3. He picked up 2 in the first quarter, picked up his third and fourth, and so like that's why you got the abbreviated stretch in the third quarter last game, and then they just got blown out and he never came back. That was just pure garbage time. But that closing rotation, or what the closest thing we have to a closing rotation against Cleveland does concern me, because there's no real reason they can't go to PJ Washington at the 5 and give Dennis Smith Jr. 4 minutes.
Absolutely. So what are you willing to give Nick Richards for minutes then?
I'll probably go 28, maybe like 26.
Okay. Yeah, I went 28. I didn't feel comfortable going any higher, but going lower, just, the 3 games prior to that for Nick Richards, 32, 30, and 29. Like, I think the goal is competitive matchup, play your center, but we'll see what happens there. Do you want to set any rules here? Is there like a max to DSJ Richards, PJ Washington rule that you'd be looking at? Anything in that area?
I think you could. The problem is that it doesn't have to be PJ Washington. So like it feels kind of arbitrary deciding which one it's going to be. Like you could get some situations where like Dennis Smith Jr. is in and Hayward's out or something. But like, I guess the most likely is that you're getting 2 of those 3.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like they're going to take Oubre and Rozier off the court. I'd be surprised if they took Hayward off for DSJ or whatever.
He's less likely. Like you're probably getting Oubre, Rozier, Hayward, and 2 guys in the closing lineup.
Yeah. Would you be setting any rules for the Hornets?
Probably the one we just talked about.
Okay. Max, you're not going at more than 3 guys here, though, correct?
Yeah, no, that's kind of just a general cap I usually use.
Okay. Any interest in someone like Kai Jones at 3,400 power forward center?
Not really. I would set a rule not to have Nick Richards and Kai Jones, but I didn't mention it because like I don't think I'll get to Kai Jones anyway.
Yeah, I got the 3% of him, so I figured I'd ask since it did show up. He is the only other guy pulling any sort of regular ownership. Anything else for the Hornets? They look fantastic today.
No.
All righty. Schedule for the rest of the day. Yeah, you guys got to hit the like button first. 330 people in the house, around 50 likes. We've got the So Rare NBA show coming up at 1:30. We've got the Odd Shop over on our Odd Shopper channel coming up at 4. Adam will be back for the deeper dive at 5, and then we'll have live before lock from 6 till 7:30. Don't forget, if you want to sign up at Stokastic, never a better time to do so. 50% off either a week or a month of any package we have, individual sports or our platinum package, so long as it doesn't include Fantasy Cruncher. This is the perfect time to do it because there's just so much going on from a sports perspective right now. You can close out the rest of college basketball. Obviously, the NBA is here. NHL is here. MMA, if you want to compete for second place, be my guest. Come on over and play those contests. Golf every week. It's not going anywhere. PGA Showdown contests are out there for you. All of the racing content. So if you want to come check out Stokastic, 50% off for your first week or month, depending on which package you're looking for. Click the link in the chat that Jordan just dropped or in the description. The Chicago Bulls are 7.5-point dogs in Philadelphia. That's a 225 total here. Not a great spot for the Bulls, but we'll talk about them anyway. Highest owned guy for the Bulls right now is Alex Caruso. He is currently questionable for today's game. The second most owned guy is 9% owned Andre Drummond. We could have a bigger conversation there. Somehow they've dropped Drummond all the way down to the flat min. So that's a thing. No ownership really coming into anybody else. I barely got to these guys. I thought we'd be able to take advantage of the crazy minutes that DeMar DeRozan has been playing as of late. And it just doesn't seem like it's going to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, I do like that the prices have dropped a little bit. You know, Levine's down to 8,300, Vooch at 77, DeRozan's still at 87. But like you said, he's come back to life. He's playing huge minutes. He's playing well again. So all three of those guys are perfectly fine ways to be contrarian. You know, when you think about just the game we've already talked about, you know, if you're going to have 33% ownership going to Terry Rozier and 8 going to Levine, or, I mean, Levine's closer in price than DeRozan, so I'll use him. Yeah. But, you know, 8 going to Levine, that's a perfectly valid spot in a lineup to say, okay, I'm playing Zach LaVine. Hopefully he beats Terry Rozier and that, you know, moves me ahead of a bunch of people. That's perfectly fine. But they don't stand out as priorities, in part because you have that Charlotte team. You have some other spots they're going to stand out as well. So those three are always fine to get to. The Caruso piece matters because at 3,300, if he starts and gives you 24, 25 minutes, he's just going to project as a decent value. Pretty unlikely to be somebody that you have to have, but, you know, he can run into some extra steals or whatever. You know, Austin Reeves scored 50 fantasy points yesterday. Anything's possible. So he's just a decent enough value. But then if he's out, it opens up more Kobe White, Patrick Williams, Ayo Dosunmu minutes. Very similar guys to Caruso, where you're not comfortable with them, but there's going to be some cheap guy in the starting lineup that is playable value. The Drummond piece, clearly you're not playing him with Vooch. You're not playing him with confidence either, but he should get the backup minutes here. He's 3K. We know he's capable of doubling in like 16 minutes.
Do you assume he just sits out today?
True. I didn't think about that.
How do you feel about Derek Jones Jr.?
Yeah. Yeah, at some point today, Andre Drummond is going to make up an injury and not play because Joel Embiid's on the other side. But
he's got an avocado in his ass.
Right. Yeah. For now, Andre Drummond is interesting.
He is. Flat 3K is a thing. Like that should never be the case. He's not playing enough, obviously. Like, you know, 6.5 minutes on Saturday. But, you know, he's playing whatever minutes Vooch isn't out there. Any sort of foul trouble. You get 14 minutes out of 3K Andre Drummond. Buckle up because it could get wild.
Yeah. And again, it's, you know, as long as the ownership is low, it's fine. If you were to start getting, for some reason, you know, Drummond pulling like 15% ownership, it would be like, okay, the field can have that one. But
I mean, even at 9%, like the field, I don't want to say that the field can just have that one, but like,
yeah, it's just like where
that's sort of the upper bound already.
Right. Yeah. It's the Andre Drummond conversation earlier in the year was a lot more interesting when it was like he's 1% owned.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't get to any on this crunch. I mean, I didn't get to anything more than 4% of Caruso. This doesn't feel like the best spot. And I really did think that like DeRozan was going to pop because this dude has been playing just crazy minutes as of late. I gave him 38. It still didn't even matter. Philly side kind of feels the same way that it always does. There's not much here. We had James Harden and PJ Tucker both sit out on Saturday. Tucker maintains that Q tag today. Harden appears to be available. 10 to 15% ownership on Harden and Embiid. No ownership coming into anyone else for Philly. I've had a lot of trouble getting to either one of these guys as of late. Today seems no different. I wouldn't mind getting to Harden and Embiid. They certainly both look fine, but they just don't appear to be the guys that I'm paying up for.
Yeah, never upset about getting to them. You know they're playing big minutes, assuming the game's competitive. Embiid is going to play great. I mean, it's just a matter of, you know, like last game, 54 in 3 quarters, just didn't play the fourth. He's really, really good, but there are going to be plenty of other options as well. Happy to get to either of them though, if I can.
There's nothing else here, right? You can't go to Maxey, Harris. There is nobody else.
Yeah, I don't see anything other than Harden and Embiid.
Does anything open up if Tucker happens to be out?
It depends. Last game they started Daniel House. If he starts, no. If Jaden McDaniel starts, yes. Or Jalen McDaniels, yes. Jalen McDaniel is just a better point per minute guy than House. We saw a couple games ago, McDaniels get the start in place of Tucker, played like 28 minutes in that game. Could have potentially played more also. So like if he starts at 3,100, I do have interest in going there. If House starts at 3K, I don't, just because I think that there's one, McDaniels is the better point per minute guy, but two, House starting, I'd be very, very surprised if he plays big minutes. Like you're still going to get those minutes for McDaniels, those minutes for Niang. If McDaniels starts, you can see the rotation play out where it's basically just McDaniels and Niang, and House still barely plays.
Agreed. Yeah, just a pretty gross game, all things considered. Yeah. A little bit less gross here for Minnesota. Lots to talk about, too. They are 7.5-point dogs in New York, 229 total. Q tag on Gobert, Q tag on Rivers, on Reed. Still a doubtful tag on Jalen Noel. Towns obviously still out. Q tag on Anthony Edwards. I don't normally do this for Q tags, but I left him out of this one as well. We know that he rolled his ankle pretty bad on Friday, was in a walking boot, at least at some point in time during this weekend, missed Saturday's game. I think he sits
walking
again
boot
today.
Is off, by the way.
That I do know. Feels like it's too quick to come back for this one in a road game. They play Wednesday at home. Getting some home treatment for 2 days just seems like the more likely scenario. So I actually left him out. Not normally something I would normally do, but it feels easier to leave him out. Do you have a lean on Edwards right now?
I agree with everything you said. The only reason I don't have a lean is, one, Minnesota needs to win games. And two, Anthony Edwards is one of the most outspoken players about playing when you can play. And so like, that's why it kind of pulls me back to the middle is I think if he can go, they're going to have a hard time convincing him he's not playing.
Agreed. It just looked so bad that like, I want to give him an extra game, but you know, like also, if he ends up getting ruled in at 7:00, like that's fine. It's not.
And I don't want to read too much into this because Minnesota's been kind of squirrely with their Q tags all year long. But the fact that like, if you take injury reports at face value, which again, you probably shouldn't with Minnesota, the fact that he was questionable last game would suggest that like, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. It's all true. I don't like it. It's all tricky because there's a giant trickle down effect here. If he doesn't play, Taurean Prince is likely to start. He is 3,400 small forward, power forward, and projected for 30% ownership. And I have way more, assuming he is starting.
Yeah, coming off of a great game where he had 0 points in the first half, but played 30 minutes. That game blew out too, so you missed minutes down the stretch. If Edwards is out, you're getting a very cheap Taurean Prince with a lot of playing time in front of him. You're getting increased usage from Mike Conley. He's 5,500, not getting much ownership. He wasn't very good last game, but he is somebody that will need to take on a bigger role if Edwards is out. He's already talked about it as well. So that's a pretty cheap price tag for him, especially not getting much ownership either. I guess we do have Edwards projected in right now, so that would probably come up. So I guess I'm a little confused. If Edwards is in, Prince isn't 30%.
No.
Or shouldn't be 30%.
I hope he is.
Right. If Edwards is out, then sure, play Prince. Conley will look good if Edwards is out. Kyle Anderson, the price tag is scary on him, but he's playing big minutes and he's playing really, really well. If Edwards is in, you can still use Anderson as just like, a contrarian piece in tournaments. But if Edwards is out, Anderson looks better also, just because he's somebody that can do everything. You take out Edwards and you have some playmaking to soak up, and Kyle Anderson can do that. You have some scoring to soak up. Kyle Anderson can do that. So he certainly looks better if Edwards is out.
What about 20% in ownership going to Rudy Gobert right now, which feels pretty high?
I'm fine with it. He's been really, really good since Conley got there. The only thing I don't like about Gobert is that he's pretty consistently been playing like 30 minutes. You had that one game where he played like 37 regulation. Last game, he played 30, basically 31. He did sit 3 minutes of garbage time, so maybe he would have, played more. But he's just been so productive with Conley that even in 30 minutes, he looks pretty good at that price. And knowing that there's some chance that he plays, 33, 34, just gives him an added ceiling. So I don't really have a problem with that ownership. I also think Jaden McDaniels is fine at 5K. Yeah. He's another one where, he's not a high usage guy. You don't think of him as a high usage guy, but he certainly can take on a bigger scoring role if Anthony Edwards is out.
I kind of think that the most interesting person that could be here is going to be the slept on Nickeil Alexander-Walker. If Anthony Edwards ends up out, played 27 minutes on the Friday game, the game that Edwards got hurt. To me, he's the more natural guy to replace Edwards in this starting lineup over Taurean Prince. Like, I was surprised to see what that lineup ended up being on Saturday. Do you like the upside for Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 3,500 at 3% ownership?
I like the difference in ownership between him and Taurean Prince. Alexander Walker still only played 19 minutes last game. They actually gave 24 to Jordan McLaughlin, who played a bunch of minutes alongside Mike Conley. So it's still not a guarantee that you're getting a bunch of minutes for Alexander Walker, but let's say 20 minutes of Alexander Walker, 30 of Prince. If that's what they're going to play on average, that still doesn't make Prince a 10-1 favorite against Alexander Walker.
Exactly. And there's no reason that he can't just fall into more minutes if he's if he's playing well.
He can get more.
Yeah. So I like him as a GPP flyer. I think that just like the balance of this is all off, but none of it matters. We got to wait on this Anthony Edwards news, which we should get later today. Anything else from Minnesota?
Nope.
For the New York Knicks, looks like we're going to be at full strength here. We got Jalen Brunson back over the weekend. He played 32 minutes on Saturday. Randall, Brunson, and Mitchell Robinson are all 15% owned. I like Randall and Brunson quite a bit more than what we're seeing in ownership right now. How do you feel about these Knicks guys today?
Fine. Brunson only 7,500. That's a really cheap price tag for him. He came back over the weekend. Was that yesterday or the day before?
Saturday, he played 32 minutes.
Okay, that's what I thought, but it's not showing up, or I don't see it. Saturday, not Sunday. That makes the difference. Yeah. So 32 minutes from him, like you said, probably playing, 34, 35 here. At 7,500, that's going to look pretty good. 36 minutes typically for Julius Randle at 9,200. No problem with that. Mitchell Robinson's down to 4,500. I do think you kind of need to be projecting like 26 minutes or so for him here, as opposed to the 30 plus that we were getting for a while. We've just seen Hartenstein playing more often. But even, 26, 27 minutes from Robinson's going to look fine at 4,500. Yeah,
I ended up going 27, 21 to him and Hartenstein. Doesn't totally open up Hartenstein at 21. He's 3,700, but, there's a path, I guess you could say. I just don't find it to be all that interesting. But yeah, Brunson at 7,500, to me, that price tag is very appealing. He came in, played your standard starter rotations, like it was basically, 8 at each quarter. I assume he goes back up to exactly where he was prior to the injury, right around that 34, 35, 30, like in that 34 to 36 range. 16% ownership against Minnesota. Like, I love this spot for Brunson.
Yeah, see, I think Brunson's the most interesting one to me.
Yeah. And then I really do like Randall, 9,200. I wish he had power forward center, but like the center doesn't really matter as much there. He's got power forward and that matters the most. And I think it's a really nice spot against Minnesota too.
I mean, yeah, so I like Randall, but the reason Brunson's the most interesting to me is just, even if he only plays 32 minutes at 7,500, he looks fine. But there's some potential that you just get 37 minutes from him and he ends up looking amazing.
Yeah, he's in 53% of my lineups right now. I'm going to have an absolute shit ton of Jalen Brunson throughout the day. And I am not in any way mad about that.
No.
I'm not going anywhere else, though. I have a hard time seeing myself getting to any volume of Barrett, Hart, quickly. Everybody else is not even able to be talked about.
Yeah. The only thing like last game you did get 34.5 from Barrett and 32 from Hart. That was good to see. You only got 20 minutes from Quentin Grimes. But, on average, you're probably getting around 32 from Barrett, 28 from Hart. It makes it tough to get to at those price tags.
Yeah. I got like 4% of Barrett. That's going to be the extent of it here. All righty. Nothing else for the Knicks?
Nope.
PrizePicks is the sponsor of this show. So 1, hit the like button, show them some love. And then 2, sign up at PrizePicks using the link in the description. You'll get up to $100 on your first deposit. You're picking player props here. over-unders. And we've got plenty of PrizePicks opportunities for you at Stokastic. If you want to use our Pick'em Pro package, we give you the percent chance of hitting all of these props, over or under. Put together 5 on one card, you can net up to 10x your entry fee. Do 6, you'll get up to 25x, but you don't need to go perfect. You get 4 out of 5, you still get 2x. If you get 3 out of 5, you still get like 0.4x your money. So you can at least salvage a little bit on a non-perfect day. I'm going to hit Adam with a couple props for right now. This is going to be fantasy score. They use the FanDuel scoring system. So 3 points for rebound or for blocks, 3 points for steals. You lose a full point for turnovers. We're going to go to the Charlotte Hornets side of this one, since we talked about them a little bit earlier. Terry Rozier, over under 38.5.
Over.
Yeah, I've got it at 40.5.
Way
so
over.
that is one that is one that stands out to me quite a bit. Let's bail on that one. We'll go to Philly. We'll go to the big man, Joel Embiid, over under 56.5.
Over.
I got it right on the number, so that's one that I would probably stay away from. We'll go to the guy that's playing a bunch of minutes right now. This one feels like a pretty easy over. Over 36.5 for DeMar DeRozan.
Way over.
Yeah, that one is going to make it onto a card that I put out a little bit later. Hopefully it doesn't move as much as you would think it could. And then, since we just talked about it, I think it's important to talk about it here. Jalen Brunson, over under 37.5.
Over.
Yeah, same. I got it 2.5 points higher than that. I got Brunson at 40 on the dot. Those are our picks on PrizePicks, folks. Make sure you're watching my PrizePicks video over on the Odd Shopper channel, but we have plenty of content for you guys to check out both here on this Stokastic channel and the Odd Shopper channel. We go to Golden State. 9.5 point favorites in Houston, 238 total for the Warriors. Still no Andrew Wiggins. Still no Gary Payton. Q-tag on Kevon Looney, which could have an interesting trickle-down effect. 15% ownership coming into Curry, to Draymond, and basically to Dante DiVincenzo. Get 10 to coming into Clay. What do you like here for the Warriors? Because obviously the spot looks great. I want to get to more Steph. It doesn't appear that I am. I don't think there's any priorities for Golden State, but maybe you see it differently.
I mean, Steph down to 9,800 is certainly a good price tag. It's nice because typically he's difficult to get to just because he ends up being like 10,500, 10,600, and he's competing with guys that are just better point per minute, players than him. Down at 9,800, sort of just, a more reasonable spot for him. Still has competition, obviously. Like you have James Harden at that same price point, but you're getting in competitive games, 34 to 36 minutes from Steph. It's obviously a really good matchup. So I do like the discounted price there. He's pulling 15% ownership. I don't have any problem with that. Draymond at 6,200, giving you 30 to 32 minutes. Just, a last piece in. You're never excited to get to Draymond, but that price tag, very reasonable. So those two guys look good. Clay at 7,100 seems really cheap to me for only 8% owned as well. Good matchup, playing 34 minutes or so in competitive games. Obviously can get hot from three. We've seen some big rebounding games from him recently as well. Shooting guard, small forward. I really like the upside he gives you. Those three guys all look good to me. DiVincenzo is the last piece in. Getting 8% ownership is fine. If you want to take shots on like Jordan Poole or Kevon Looney, I guess that's fine as well. But Curry, Draymond, Clay, and to a lesser extent DiVincenzo are all pretty appealing.
What do we want to do if we do lose Looney here?
Probably more Kuminga, more Lamb.
That's all I need. That's what I want. A reason to play more Anthony Lamb. Like I need to hunt that one down already. I'm very happy. 21 minutes and 18 minutes in the Friday game and Saturday game. So at least I can be muted on him now. I don't have to, he's not going out there playing 26 and still getting projected for 20 everywhere, which was driving me insane. So I got saved on that one. I don't have anything else here for Golden State.
Me neither.
Well, I'm doing this one again, and I think that you're going to be with me. These guys are not getting the correct ownership. 24% coming into Jalen Green. We might not see Jayshawn Tate today on the back-to-back, but 24% ownership to Jalen Green, 10 to KPJ, 18 to Şengün. Let's start with these three guys who are playing massive minutes right now. Jalen Green playing 38 plus. I gave him 36, and he's in 72% of my lineups already. 24% ownership is just not correct for him.
Yeah, the price tag is way too cheap on these guys. 68, like you said, and this is another team just like Charlotte, that even though they have nothing to play for other than just, getting minutes for guys, that are big parts of their future team. They're playing huge minutes, like you said. Jalen Green's playing massive minutes. Kevin Porter Jr. playing huge minutes. Şengün, when he's not in foul trouble, is playing huge minutes, and they're all cheap. Jalen Green at 6,800 looks fantastic. $8K for Kevin Porter is probably the correct price. You shouldn't have a $1,200 gap between him and Jalen Green. Porter is the more appealing fantasy producer because he's more involved as a playmaker than Green is. Green's more scoring dependent, but that doesn't make up for a $1,200 gap. So Kevin Porter Jr. looks fine at 8K. Jalen Green clearly underpriced at 6,800. Şengün pretty clearly underpriced at 6,700. Now for him, you have more opportunity cost because he is center only. You also have a bit more risk in the playing time because he's clearly just going to get in foul trouble more often than somebody like Jalen Green. But when he's not in foul trouble and you're getting 34, 35 minutes from Alperen Şengün, 6,700 is too cheap there as well. So Green looks amazing. Şengün looks good. I don't have any problems with Porter or KJ Martin, but they are, more correctly priced than Green and Şengün.
Yeah. I'm basically neutral on KPJ, neutral-ish on Jabari Smith, who's also playing, big minutes as well. Tari Eason is available to potentially play more minutes if we don't have Jae'Sean Tate tonight. Like, it's not like they're just going to immediately find all of these extra rotation pieces. But yeah, I have 70% Jalen Green, 40% Şengün, and I'm happy to be there. Like, I know that you and I both had a lot of Houston yesterday. I'm happy to have it again today. Like, the Jalen Green price to me is just so aggressively broken. I think he might probably be the best play on today's slate. Just at that price, given what we can get.
Yeah, he looks great. The team in general looks good. Jabari Smith too at 6,600, correctly priced. But playing bigger minutes, assuming Şengün is in. If Şengün's out, Jabari Smith's probably underpriced because you're getting center Jabari Smith. But assuming Şengün doesn't sit the back-to-back, Jabari Smith still gives you a ceiling. It's just that, he's priced for that ceiling. But Green and Şengün in particular really stand out from a salary standpoint. Tari Eason at 4,400, like you said, assuming Jae'Sean Tate sits, that doesn't necessarily have to mean more minutes for Tari Eason, but it certainly could. And at 4,400, it's not like you need a lot of minutes from him. He's a very good point per minute guy.
I mean, I think it almost has to mean it just because, like, obviously Josh Christopher gets a little bit more just by default, but based on what we have now, like Ty Washington's now with the team. Their other G League team guys are all with their G League team. The other options are more minutes to Garuba, which doesn't seem like it's going to happen, or they unlock Daishen Nix, Frank Kaminsky, or Boban. Like,
Nix would be my concern.
Interesting. Okay.
Like, my concern in that if Tari Eason doesn't play a bunch more minutes, I think it's because Knicks played. The thing
I mean, I think I would give Eason like an extra minute, 2 minutes, something like that, just by default. And that right there is just going to be enough to be like, okay, he's good now.
Right. Because even with Tate in, you already have, like, even if Tate were in here at 4,400 for Eason, it's still a decent play because he's going to play typically like 20 to 22 minutes. But if you get any foul trouble for Şengün, Smith, Martin, that's more minutes for Eason as well. The reason that I mentioned, like, it makes Eason look better if Tate's out, but it's not like you're giving him like a million more minutes. They haven't been playing more lineups since the Eric Gordon trade where you have Eason, Jabari Smith, and Şengün together. They haven't been playing lineups very often where like KJ Martin's at the 2. Yeah. If they were doing that, then it would be like, oh, wow, Eason could just play like, 30 minutes here. But without them doing that, it makes me think they are going to like throw Knicks into the rotation. You are going to get more Christopher, but it does certainly allow you to give at least an extra minute or two to Eason.
There we go. Love Houston today.
Agreed.
One more time, guys, hit that like button. Let's get that number up over 100 likes because we got to talk about the lineup generator. We talk about it on these shows a lot. I think you guys should go out of your way to check it out if you haven't done it already. If you want to get better at DFS, this is going to be the first step for you to do that. You can get it for less than $5 for your first week. So even if you hate it, you're out $4.48. Link is going to be in the description or in chat. We handle all of the lineup generation for you. We get rid of anything that we think stinks, and we present everything else to you. You can choose chalky lineups, balanced lineups, contrarian lineups, lock a player if you want, swap players around. You'll see projections, ownership, optimal rates. If you like the lineup, click save. If you don't, click discard. Another one just pops right up for you. You can export up to 20 via CSV. This is a tool that is going to help you and make your life easier when you're trying to play NBA DFS. And we're bringing it to you for less than $5 for the first week. It is the perfect opportunity to try it out. So again, link in chat or the description, $4.48 for the lineup generator. Final two games. Dallas Mavericks, 1-point dogs in Memphis, 222 total. Not a lot that we can do right now, but the good news is if it breaks the right way, this game sucks. Luka is questionable. Kyrie is questionable. Markieff Morris is questionable. I've got everybody in right now, and I'm essentially not getting to Dallas. Seems pretty difficult to get to Kyrie at 10K or Luka at 12-1 in his first game back. Maxey looks fine at 3,400, but he's not exactly a prolific fantasy scorer. What do you see when you look at Dallas?
Assuming those guys are in, nothing that I want.
Yeah.
It's just, Luka and Kyrie obviously cut into each other's production a bit. Luka's still priced like Kyrie doesn't exist. Kyrie is basically priced like Luka doesn't exist. So it just makes it really tough to get to either of them. If they're both back, I expect Christian Wood to be less of a factor here. Who knows? Like they could keep giving him minutes, but it made more sense to give him minutes when you didn't have Kyrie and Luka because you actually needed somebody that could play offense. Now you can very easily just go back to having Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber out there as defensive pieces, Kleber as a 3-point shooter, and then the offense run through Luka and Kyrie like it should. So I wouldn't expect a lot out of Christian Wood. Maxi at 3,400, whatever, but certainly not anything I really want to get to. Very, very, very tough team to get to if Luka and Kyrie are in.
If we happen to just have Kyrie and Luka sits out for another game, are you interested in Kyrie at 10K?
He's fine, but I think I'd still rather. I think I'd probably still get the Harden first. I'd probably still get the Steph first.
Yeah. I just don't think that there's anything here that's going to be that appealing. Like if Maxey continues to have no ownership, the minutes have crept up a little bit. Played 27.5 on Wednesday, 28.9 on Friday. Like we're starting to get to a point where, okay, at 3,400, I can roll those dice with the power forward eligibility, but it's never going to look great.
Right. It's just, he's another one where is he a, 15-1 favorite against or dog against Taurean Prince? No. Am I still going to play Taurean Prince more than him? Yes.
Yep. Agreed. I don't have more to say here for Dallas. I guess if both Kyrie and Luka get ruled out, maybe we find some additional value.
Jaden Hardy's price tag got slashed over $2,000, so he's back to 5,100 on DraftKings. If those guys are both out, fire up Jaden Hardy.
There you go. On the Memphis end, we have still no Ja Morant. He is out for conditioning reasons, so he's going to be on his way back shortly. Still no Adams, obviously Clark out. The big piece here. There's a Q tag on Jaren Jackson Jr., and that creates just craziness for Memphis because we're already getting 25% ownership to Bane, which I agree with. We're at 15% ownership to Dillon Brooks. I'm probably going to have too much Dillon Brooks in this spot. Tyus Jones looks totally fine at 13% ownership. Even Jaren Jackson at 8,100, like there are bigger problems than going to Triple J when he's priced appropriately. But if he ends up out, we are letting it rip on Santi Aldama. Bane looks much better. Dillon Brooks becomes a very different play. This Memphis team is intriguing.
Yeah, they're going to look good regardless. If we assume Jaren Jackson is in, like you said, Desmond Bane still looks good at 7,800. Brooks and Jones look fine at 5K and 7K respectively. Jackson still gives you a high ceiling at 8,100. He's been about a 1.2 to 1.3 fantasy point per minute guy without Morant. He's getting backup center minutes with no Brandon Clark. So that's been good for him as well. He's not getting much ownership, so it makes him a good tournament play. Xavier Tillman at 5,400 is similar to Nick Richards, where if he avoids foul trouble, he can play 30 plus minutes. It's just a matter of one, avoiding foul trouble, and then two, having Memphis go with that lineup as opposed to going with the smaller lineup where Jackson's getting more minutes at the 5. But there's at least a path there for Tillman. If Jackson is out, though, those minutes for Tillman are more secure. Santi Aldama's minutes are there. He's only 3,700. He would likely start in place of Jackson. Luke Kennard at 4K. We've been seeing play more minutes recently, and I would expect that if Jackson's out as well. You get a bump in usage for Bane and for Brooks if Jackson is out. So the team just goes from looking good to looking really, really good if Jaren Jackson sits.
David Roddy at 3,400 probably becomes a little bit more interesting than he is if Triple J is out. Like this is major news.
Yeah, it is.
And the good news is, even though it is this 8:00 start, say we get this news at 7:31, you've got 2 games at 8, you've got another one at 9, and you're not really impacted by like a 10-5 guy or anything like that. All of these guys are going to be very easy to swap in and out of, given the fact that there are 3 games of choices. Like if we get Jaren Jackson out late, it's still going to be pretty easy to get to all of the good stuff that exists.
Yeah, agreed.
Also from a it'll be interesting balance for Taurean Prince. Like, hopefully we get the Triple J news prior to the lock of the 7:30 games, because that'll be an interesting balance for Prince and Aldama.
Yeah. From a rotation standpoint, if Jackson is out, obviously, it makes, like we said, Aldama, Kennard, Roddy all look better. They did use Kenneth Lofton Jr. as the backup center 2 games ago. So I wouldn't be shocked if Jackson is out, if they do throw him like 12 to 14 minutes. Okay. I'm not saying that because you should play Lofton. I'm just saying it like, as maybe the Kennard Roddy minutes don't go like totally crazy like they would have to if you didn't make Kenneth Lofton the backup center.
There we go. Now, Piers Zaire Williams is with the G League team right now, so he shouldn't have to matter today. But you never know. I got nothing else for Memphis.
Me neither.
You ready to close this out?
Yep.
Final game, folks, and we're up over 100 likes, so thank you for that. Sacramento Kings, 6-point favorites in Utah, 239 total. Hell of a late night hammer here. For the Kings, Q-tag on Kevin Huerter, Q-tag on Trey Lyles. Both of those things are important for what we're going to be doing today. 10 to 15% ownership coming into Sabonis, Fox, the Barnacle of the Bay. Kevin Huerter is actually the second most owned guy on Sacramento right now. If everybody's in, I'm kind of happy to get to all the normal guys from Sacramento that play and are totally fine today. It's Utah.
Yeah, good matchup, good players. Obviously, Sabonis, you're always happy to get to him. He's playing unbelievably well. He's also playing huge minutes in competitive games. You only got 33 last game because it was a non-competitive game against Washington, but you're typically getting 37, 38 when the game's close. So like getting there when you can. 8,200 for De'Aaron Fox is a very cheap price tag. I don't really know what's happening with some of the guard pricing today, but 8,200 on Fox is way too cheap. If Huerter is in, then you get a situation where Huerter, Barnes, Murray, all reasonable plays. If Huerter is out, though, it helps solidify those minutes for Barnes and for Murray, also for Malik Monk, who is up to 5,500. If Lyles is also out, again, solidifying minutes for Keegan Murray. We got an interesting rotation with them both out last game. I don't think you should read too much into that. Kessler Edwards started. He picked up 3 fouls in his first rotation. So you did get Terrence Davis playing a bit more in that first half. Terrence Davis also played really, really well. So he ended up playing 29 minutes. That is certainly possible that you get a bunch of Terrence Davis minutes if Lyles and Huerter are both out. But do keep in mind that Kessler Edwards has moved ahead of him in the rotation. And if Terrence Davis plays poorly, like they have no problem not giving him minutes. 2 games ago so Lyles was in, but Huerter got hurt 2 games ago. You saw Terrence Davis actually start the second half in that game, still play a total of 5 second half minutes, never come back. Like he's a very risky play, even if both guys are out. But if both guys are out, you do have a clear ceiling for him at 4K.
All right. Yeah, the Fox price stands out to me as just the most incorrect thing that exists for Sacramento.
Yeah, he got down to like 8,600 or 8,800 the other day, and I was like, oh, this is a little cheap on De'Aaron Fox. And now it's like, oh, well, what if we take another 10% off?
Yeah. And you get to face Utah in the game with the highest total on the slate.
Right. Yep.
Can't beat it.
I really would like him to have a bad game for best ball reasons, but I'm not very confident that's going to happen.
There you go. We close it out with the Utah Jazz. No Jordan Clarkson, no Colin Sexton. Q-tag on Lauri Markkanen, which obviously matters. 10% owner, 10 to 15 coming into Markkanen, Akbaji, THT, and Chris Dunn. I actually don't mind that $9,100 price tag on Lauri Markkanen. I think he looks like the best option from Utah. I certainly like Walker Kessler as well at 7K at just 4% ownership.
Yeah. Why is Chris Dunn getting ownership?
I don't know.
Okay. They've gone back.
I've got a couple shares of him, but
yeah. He can have a good game at 4,800. I just don't know why he's getting 14% ownership. If Lauri Markkanen is out, this does change. But if Markkanen's in, they've gone back to playing Chris Dunn and Taylor Horton-Tucker 48 minutes. So if Markkanen is in, that is a problem because you're getting like 28 minutes from Horton-Tucker. You're getting like 20 from Dunn, give or take. If Markkanen's out, it does increase the likelihood that you get a few minutes alongside each other. Maybe in that case, you get like 30 for Horton-Tucker, 22 or 24 for Dunn. So if Markkanen's out, I see it's easier for me to take some shots on a $4,800 Dunn than if he's in. If Markkanen's in and Dunn's ownership ends up at 14%, I'm not going there. If he ended up being, 3, 4, 5%, then sure, take some shots, hope that he plays well and steals some minutes from Horton Tucker. Like that obviously can happen. But the marketing news, I think, does matter for him and Horton Tucker. You would expect Horton Tucker to take on a bigger role offensively if Markkanen's out as well, in addition to probably playing more minutes. Olynyk looks a little bit better if Markkanen's out. Kessler looks good one way or the other. I do think it's interesting that Kessler at 7K is getting 4% ownership, playing about 30 minutes, while Rudy Gobert gets 20% ownership, playing about 30 minutes. I
think Kessler's just straight a better play.
I don't know about that, but I think that their ceilings are comparable.
Which is very interesting given the two names that we're talking about too.
Yeah, true.
They're going to be tied to each other for a while, and it's not just for this particular reason.
Yeah. And Agbaji should start and play big minutes. He's not a great point per minute guy, but he's 3,800 in a high scoring game.
Yeah. This is a fun slate.
Yeah.
I do like it. Yeah. Hopefully
for best ball, I need Fox to suck and Markkanen to sit. So I assume that it's going to be Lauri Markkanen versus De'Aaron Fox for the entire fourth quarter.
There you go. Knowing that is good. If you knew if everybody just had the information of what you need in best ball tonight and what I play, you could probably put together some really good lineups.
Yeah.
Because whoever I jam in, which at this point is Jalen Green, that dude's scoring 15 real points today.
Oh, I've been with you there for a while too. I mean,
that's a good point.
Swapped to all the Cam Reddish yesterday. Dude scores 6 points. In the same exact spot where for 2 weeks I wasn't playing him at 30% owned and he was scoring 35 a night.
Well, NBA DFS, man, it doesn't get any better than this. Bet Pro video coming out shortly?
Yeah, NBA Notes article will be out, and then the Bet Pro video after that.
Well, there we go, folks. Another one in the books. Thank you for joining us on this show. Thank you to PrizePicks for being the sponsor. Make sure you're hitting your like button on the way out the door. Plenty of content coming up for the rest of the day. Good luck, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Peace.